Funny facts about daily things you don't know. If you've ever questioned the cliché "everything has a story," we'd want you to look around at the various things that are now in your immediate vicinity. That's right. All of the unremarkable, commonplace things that you don't give much thought to, but which are essential to your existence nonetheless. Even the garments you wear daily have unexpected histories, funny backstories, or unusual facts associated with them that you most likely were unaware of. Here are some of them. Number 10. Men's shoes originally feature extremely high heels. Someone in a culture that rode horses about the year 1000 worked out that a shoe with a bit of a raised heel would allow the rider's foot to remain more securely in the stirrups. This innovation led to the development of stirrup shoes. The concept caught on swiftly, and before long, entire armies, composed entirely of men, rode into combat wearing pumps. Since owning a horse was a sign of high prestige in Europe during the 17th century, wearing shoes with high heels signified that you possessed the medieval equivalent of a Mercedes-Benz. These shoes became a fashion fad in Europe around this same period, up until the point where they were no longer considered fashionable for males to wear. Well-to-do men and women alike would wear heels. Number 9. The game of cards has a rich historical background. According to a popular urban legend, the four suits of a standard deck of playing cards were derived from the four primary sectors of the medieval economy. Hearts were said to represent the church, spades represented the military, diamonds represented the merchants, and clubs represented the farmers. The biblical King David is claimed to represent the king of spades, Julius Caesar is said to represent the king of diamonds, and Alexander the Great is said to represent the king of clubs. Each of the four kings is also said to represent a true historical monarch. Whether that was the intention of the people who created the deck or whether it was a story that developed over time, the fact that the King of Hearts is the only one who does not have a mustache is unquestionably accurate. Number 8. Eyeglasses that can be worn have been around from the year 1284. Suppose every time you needed to read something, you had to bring a piece of glass the size of a mirror up to your face and hold it there until you finished what you were reading. Before the 13th century, when some entrepreneurial people in Italy shrunk the glass and hefty frames sufficiently that they could eventually be worn on the nose, it was the best remedy that humankind had come up with for eyesight difficulties. After some time had passed, Spanish eyeglass makers developed the concept of affixing ribbons to the frame of the eyewear to ensure that the spectacles remained in place on the wearer's face. Finally, in the 1700s, these ribbons were changed out for the arms that glasses have today, making it possible for the glasses to sit comfortably on the nose and ears. Number 7. Salt was used as a means of exchange. The ability of humans to store food for extended periods and bring it along on excursions has made salt an essential component in the progression of human history and the exploration of new lands. The ancient Romans placed such a high value on salt that they paid their soldiers with rations of salt rather than traditional currency. It is from this root that we obtain the word salary in English. It is also where we get the word salad, which was named not for leafy greens but for the same Romans who liked to sprinkle salt on their greens to heighten the flavor. The word salad comes from the Latin word salad, which means to sprinkle with salt. Number 6. The smartphone you use could be used to send people to the moon. You are surely aware that the smartphone you carry in your pocket is technologically light years ahead of the technology that was available 50 years ago. Nevertheless, it is difficult to comprehend precisely how advanced it is. Your smartphone has a processing capability that is millions of times more than the Apollo Guidance Computer (AGC) that NASA utilized in 1969 to take people to the moon. This computer was used to guide the Apollo spacecraft. The average cost of an AGC was $3.5 million, and each one was about the size of a vehicle. However, the mere fact that an iPhone 6 has a clock function is equivalent to the Apollo era's capability of sending 120 million spacecraft to the moon and back simultaneously. Number 5. The very first webcam was used to monitor the status of a coffee maker. FaceTime and Skype are two popular modern methods that individuals use to view and communicate with friends located in other parts of the world. However, the technology behind webcams initially had a somewhat less lofty objective in mind. In 1993, academics working at the computer science department of the University of Cambridge detested having to get up from their chairs to check the coffee pot only to discover that it was empty. They rigged up a system that would broadcast photos onto the internal computer network at a rate of 3 per minute. The system was connected to the Trojan room, which was where they stored the pot. By the end of the year, the stream was published on the World Wide Web for the first time, and the coffee pot in the Trojan room briefly achieved notoriety on a global scale. Number 4. Albert Einstein collaborated with other inventors to develop the refrigerator. Although General Electric produced the very first refrigerators in 1911, the coolants that they utilized to keep the insides of the refrigerators icy were extremely hazardous to human health. A sleeping family in Berlin in the 1920s lost their lives due to a leaky refrigerator coolant. Albert Einstein, who was aware of the catastrophe thanks to reading about it in the newspaper, immediately began formulating a remedy. In collaboration with his old student Leo Szilard, he devised a design for a refrigerator that featured no moving parts, and as a result lacked any seals that would have been susceptible to leaking. Even though their concept was scrapped in the 1950s in favor of more recent technology advancements, researchers at Stanford are currently looking into it as a means to deliver refrigeration to locations that do not have access to power. Number 3. Chocolate was once employed in the medical profession. It wasn't until the late 1500s that Europeans came across chocolate, or the cacao bean, which is where chocolate gets its flavor. Chocolate is originally from Mesoamerica. The explorer Francisco Hernandez saw the Aztecs employing cacao for a variety of medicinal purposes, and he noted this practice. When chocolate was first introduced to Western Europe not long after, the church was wary of its potentially addictive qualities due to its stimulating effects. Yet, because it had potential medical applications, chocolate was eventually accepted. It was recommended by doctors in Europe for a wide variety of conditions, ranging from fever to indigestion to depression. Even though these cacao concoctions were much different from chocolate as we know it now, chocolate would have been outlawed entirely in Europe if it hadn't been utilized as a medicine in the past. Number 2. The name M&M's refers to the planets Mars and Murray. In 1941, Forrest Mars, the son of the candy company's founder, came up with a way to manufacture chocolate drops that were encased in a hard candy shell. He then opened a business in the state of New Jersey. After that, he discussed the possibility of going into a company with a buddy named Bruce Murray, who was the son of the man who founded Hershey's. M&M's were originally made with chocolate from Hershey's, but in 1949, after a dispute between the two businessmen, Mars purchased back his portion of the company and switched to using his chocolate. Although they only worked together for a total of 8 years. Number 1. Your keyboard is specifically designed to make you more slow. Have you ever taken a closer look at the keyboard of your computer and wondered why the letters seem to be scattered across the keys in such an unpredictable manner? It is not in the least bit random. In 1872, this Quetry design, called for the top left row of letters, was developed for use on typewriters available at the time. Typists were typing quicker than the machines they were using, which caused the typewriters to jam. Therefore, slowing typists down resulted in time savings in the long term. There is no longer a requirement for the same outcome. Do you like it? Kindly give your valuable response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative videos.